Live from the year 2016, it's Devil's Island, and Donald Trump is the latest inhabitant from President Hillary Clinton. That's what you would be hearing if they had allowed Studio 60 to run more than one season.
It's true. They could have spoken so much more truth to power.
Live from 2016, the religious right is no longer a factor in American politics.
Everyone read Richard Dawkins, and we're all epic atheists now.
So,
and they did a bunch of mushrooms, and they realized that, we're all just part of one big universe, man.
So, gang, we're now completing a trilogy with this episode.
The trilogy is complete.
The trilogy has been complete, and the prophecy of Sorkin has finally come all full circle.
The crimson-rimmed eye of Sorkin has opened.
Yeah, the Aaron Sorkin universe is probably the only thing more expansive and more like creative and cool than the Matrix universe.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, all right, what's politics? Boom, West Wing. What's the news? The newsroom. Okay, but what's the last piece of civilization? It's
late night
live
sketch comedy. Yeah.
Sketch comedy.
And now we have it. It's Studio 60 on Sunset
It's comedy
Strip.
in general. I guess, I don't know if we'll ever do Sports Night, but...
No, I mean, Sports Night is his least bad show, largely because it's only 20 minutes.
Okay.
But it is... I did watch it when it came out, and it is hilarious how super important he treats what is just a ripoff of SportsCenter.
It's amazing how important he treats...
I mean, it's just like packages of bloopers. Of like guys getting hit in the balls with a fucking soccer ball.
It's amazing how important he treats everything.
Yeah.
Like if Aaron Sorkin you could con Aaron Sorkin into doing a show about the production of America's Funniest Home Videos, and it would have the same like gravitas, the same like, oh no, a nuke's about to be launched, musical cues, the same long tracking shots of people going down a hallway. You could literally do it with anything. This is a man who's constantly on edge. I know that I rail against uppers a lot, but this is what uppers do to your brain.
He views every cultural production with the gravity of the early space program. It's all as freighted with import as landing a man on the moon.
It's just, yeah, okay, so obviously we've done the West Wing.
Yeah.
And, that's where he brought his like incredibly, pompous sense of, moral certitude and like righteousness and just like, if we just say the right words. I mean, but that was literally about the American president.
Yeah.
That was a show about the White House.
It was obnoxious, but
so it was obnoxious.
The
but
self-seriousness was at least earned by the stakes at hand.
Yeah, they're running America and the world.
Yeah.
The newsroom, hilariously, that's like the most. The newsroom is like the most uncut Sorkin that we'll ever see on HBO.
He's totally in charge.
And he lends the same gravitas to a fucking cable news show.
Yeah.
Literally, it's about Keith Olbermann's TV show.
Yeah, and how is he going to dress down George Bush's shameful antics tonight?
Yeah.
And that was obviously absurd, but nothing compares to bringing that exact same attitude to a fucking sketch comedy show.
SNL. To Saturday Night Live.
And the thing is, not even SNL, because SNL exists in this universe. It's a show that hasn't even been on as long as SNL. It's an SNL. It's basically like Mad TV. It's not even a show about SNL. It's about Mad TV, only without as many hilarious characters like the Asian lady and the mentally handicapped child.
It's like Aaron Sorkin's so amazing because he refuses to, like, he makes fictional universes where everything is the same except his guys.
Yes.
Like Reagan was president. He was there's the same timeline in the West Wing, except for a couple presidents. Newsroom. It's not that Jeff Newsroom is a Keith Olbermann, Jake Tapper composite character. Those guys exist. They just respect it. Like, they respect Sorkin's guy more.
Yeah. He's the best version of any of them.
Right. It's truly insane. It's like if Dragon Ball Z existed in a world where like the UFC was real. It's like it is how a 6-year-old would make a show, because it's like, all right, is this a concurrent? Is this like, you're highly fictionalizing and combining things because you don't have time to show everything? No, all the guys are real and they respect my guys more.
I mean, if you want to go back and listen to the West Wing
episode 101,
newsroom episode,
episode 111,
because I know we talk in those episodes about how like the major Sorkin motif is that no matter what he's writing about, no matter what character he's writing about, like the main character is always him, and then like a smart but strong woman who must be brought to under.
Yeah, she must
be brought
smart
to heel
for a woman.
Yeah,
but she also has all of those annoying woman feelings, and she has to kind of be dressed down and reminded of her place.
It's like the Aaron Sorkin, like the major theme in all of his work, like where it doesn't matter what he's writing about. The only thing he writes about is what I, the smartest, coolest person in the world, would say to the right person in that room at the time to change the course of human events.
Yeah.
Except this time he's doing it about also a second-rate version of Saturday Night Live, which he is imbued with the same self-seriousness as like Cronkite saying the Vietnam War is lost.
Yep.
Is doing a sketch that this is a 2-episode plot arc called Crazy Christians.
Yeah. And if those sketches, which had been blocked for years by fucking standards and practices, by the psycho-Christian fundamentalist pressure groups, it really does sort of suggest that if that sketch had been allowed to air, George W. Bush would not have been reelected.
I want to, my dream after the show finally ends is that I am hired as a professor at like the King Salman University in Riyadh to teach a class specifically about the year 2006 in American culture. And my starting syllabus, it would be The Interpreter with Nicole Kidman, Collateral,
yes,
and then Studio 60 on Sunset Strip. This is a truly lost era, and nothing captures so much why we have forgotten it like this show. This there are, I assume, 9 hours of this extremely short run show.
20 hours.
I'd say at least half of it is about just triggering the fundies.
Oh no, that's the whole thing. Is they're battling because the network is always telling them you can't do that. It's too. They actually say this in the opening in the pilot. It's too funny and smart. You can't put that on air. And it's never. It was not really about the money. It's not about the advertisers the way it was with Newsroom, where you're going to get the Kochs mad at us. It was we're going to get so many letters from fundamentalist Christians that we can't allow it on air. So in his universe, all of the good comedy is being prevented from going on air because the studios are scared of Christians.
I mean, I can't underscore this enough. Like the way the West Wing was all about, here's my fantasy version of like the American, capitalist imperialist state being run by good people.
Yeah.
Here's the smart people. The good. This is how I would run the country.
Mm-hmm.
Newsroom, even more hilariously, because it was like just a remix of news events that had happened like a year prior. So he was like, this is how the world's best fucking newsman would have responded to the Gabby Gifford shooting or whatever.
He would not have said she was dead.
The import of all of this is like that this matters.
Yeah.
This matters, goddammit. Like, you think television is just a boob tube that you watch? It's like, no, it's about so much more than that. And I can't underscore how much that is played to the hilt about this show, which is, again, Saturday Night Live. So if you wanted to, we've made fun of Saturday Night Live a lot on this show, and a lot in the Trump era, the way, whether it's Trevor Noah or fucking SNL.
Sam B.
Yeah, so all this whole genre of
every fucking late night show.
Yeah, late night political comedy about, Donald Trump or whatever. And this idea that now that we've imbued late night TV comedy as being the correct opinions offered about the president, Trump. This started in the Bush administration with The Daily Show, but now it's reached a real apotheosis.
Yeah. Comedy is just saying the true thing about President Cheeto.
And it's amazing to watch this show, which is from, as we said, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is the patient zero for all of this ideology. We come back again to Aaron Sorkin as being the guy that you know what? It's corporate television, but damn it, the people who work there care. And if the right people were in charge, this would be a better country.
Yeah.
If we had TV's dumb, but if we had smart TV, people would be better.
And people were waiting for it. People want smart TV, but they are not getting it from the cowards at the network.
And what he's really saying though is people need to be watching Aaron Sorkin TV shows.
Correct. Obviously.
Well, there is something accidentally genius about this though, I believe. And it's that about 8 to 10 years before comedy just got so shitty you can't even watch it ironically unless you're Matt or Virgil and watch every Saturday Night Live for some insane self-destructive reason.
I just need to see what they're up to.
It's just too epic. I can't miss it. Before that ever happened, when there still was a lot of good comedy on average, well, not on average, but more so than now, it did explain why it would become so bad. And it was this false concept of this perfect past of comedy. There's this like comedy nerdness to this show, but not for like anything really that funny, because there is no sense of past. They have no cultural frame of reference, because they've driven themselves completely insane by only reacting to culture around them. They lost the point at the wall they're supposed to stare at, to not depersonalize and lose their space in the room. And it's just pure reaction and counter reaction, and attempting to find some sense of history and then some sense of future, and never finding it, and just existing in this ether, trying to move back and forth between whatever cultural moment of the week, and just flailing, just doing the same thing where you say exactly what happened while making the epic face. And it predicted that.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what the comedy in the show is. Now, that comedy in the show is depicted as like groundbreakingly brilliant.
I'm going to take you through a couple of these episodes now that we've watched. I'll describe the characters in the show to you. But like as we go through it, I cannot underscore how jaw-dropping the gap between the way they talk about like the material, because the entire concept of the show is that like it's, you know, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip is sort of a moribund comedy institution. It's become very hack and lame and safe. And then like it's all about, they bring in the two guys. They bring in Matthew Perry and Bradley Whitford, who are like the like hottest, most cutting edge, dangerous comedy writers who like used to work for the show before they quit because the suits wouldn't let them do the crazy Christian sketch. The gap between like what the writers and Aaron Sorkin perceives as like smart, groundbreaking, subversive comedy, and what's actually the little glimpses of the jokes and sketches that you actually get to see on the show is breathtaking.
Well, and he seems to be dimly aware of it, because that crazy Christian sketch is apparently a season-long arc of, because they wrote it 4 years ago. It's why they originally got fired. Then they were gonna do it for the pilot episode, when the original showrunner, played by Judd Hirsch, is told you can't do it, and then he does a Howard Beale thing on live TV saying TV is garbage. It's a sewer. You might as well not. You're not holding a remote. You're holding a crack pipe.
Yeah, as Matt says, like
we live in a society.
Judd Hirsch, like I don't think he ever comes back. I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows? I'm not going to watch enough of this show to find out.
He probably.
It opens with it's Friday night live, you know, and like they're about, you know, and they open with their stupid cold open sketch, and it's like, you know, George Bush being dumb. But like prior to that, Judd Hirsch, the showrunner, had just been told by Standards and Practices, played by Michael Stuhlbarg, that like the smartest, most lively, just cutting edge sketch, they got to cut it.
They say it's too smart, but it was funny. I mean, they're all saying this.
Yeah.
And so then he goes on a Howard Beale.
He literally interrupts a live TV broadcast, tells the actors to like get off stage, and like addresses the camera in his Howard Beale moment, which then, you know, Sorkin reminds you 10 times after that like it was just like Paddy Chayefsky's network.
Yeah.
Who's that writer again? Paddy Chayefsky.
Yep.
Who's the modern day Paddy Chayefsky? I'm glad you asked.
Personal hero of mine, Paddy Chayefsky. But it's important.
It's literally like it's like if we wrote a show about having a podcast, and there's a scene where like a podcaster fucks a porn star, and they're like, that podcaster fucks as good as Peter North.
But during it, see, this is always where Sorkin goes into Cloud Cuckoo land while he's ranting about how, comedy, this show used to be cutting edge and dangerous, and it would challenge people, and it was subversive, and now it's bland and cookie cutter. And then he makes the jump to, and because of that, because the sketch comedy isn't good anymore, now we're all mean and dumb.
Yes.
He has this insane, he's the most idealist thinker in modern art. He thinks the material reality has no relationship to anything. It's just pure will and personal creativity. And if you don't have the smart, right people in charge, then everyone gets stupid and violent and crass because they're not being led by the smart people with the good comedy.
Yo, don't you see? Again, he's an accidental genius. this is the hope punk thing. He literally, okay, the culture now where it's like you can't even portray a negative, like a fucking, you can't portray a protagonist with negative characteristics because it's an endorsement of those characteristics.
Yes. Yeah, you know,
and it makes people toxic.
Yeah.
He's the Nostradamus of hacks. He predicts exactly what dumb cultural moment we're in. This moment we're in now where, watching whatever Netflix show where people are nice to each other makes you a good person. Watching Parks and Rec helps make you a good person. He was so ahead of the curve on that. Now, because he's Aaron Sorkin, instead of like making it easily digestible for the bird brands that live in this country, he just made it not smart, but incredibly clunky and incorporated Gilbert and Sullivan into it. It didn't take off. Well, but he was just, he was a bit too early for his time.
It's like, where did America go wrong? It's when, the politicians stopped, sitting in a room and hammering Reagan and Tip, that was and then now it's all bad and stupid. And it's like, he's about like, TV got done when, SNL lost its balls. And it's just like in what universe was Saturday Night Live ever like a truly groundbreaking or like dangerous TV show?
They're big. When they started, Gerald Ford was president, and their big hook on him, the guy who pardoned Nixon, was he falls down all the time.
They're one of the funniest sketches they ever did. It was Eddie Murphy, and it was like, what if Mr. Rogers was a black guy? That's literally it. There's nothing groundbreaking about it. Sorkin isn't a comedy writer, but he sincerely believes, in the same vein as a comedy nerd, that like whatever bullshit Saturday Night Live was doing in like 1983, where it's like, oh, okay, so he's a football fan, but he's really fat, was just, no one had ever seen anything like it.
So so Judd Hirsch has his Howard Beale moment, and then it's like an all hands on deck, all like the network brass, they get in a big room, and the new president of the network is a young woman played by Amanda Peet. I think her name is like Jordan Breen or something.
Jordan
No, Jordan Breen is our friend. No, but this is another thing we noticed about Sorkin.
Yeah, this is really good.
That was a good observation by
very good.
Sorkin in all his shows. So there's, the classic, there are two types of females. There's the dumb bitch and her,
which is most women.
Always a name, like Sarah,
Tammy, Amanda,
some shit like that.
A lady name, a girly girl. But then there's a
Sweetie Pie.
Yeah,
Sweetie
sugar toes, belly button. But a serious woman will be given sort of a unisex, tilting towards masculine first name, Jordan in this show,
and Sarah Paulson plays the Christian Chenoweth-esque Christian star of the show. Her name is Harriet, but they all call her Harry.
Yeah,
and she just broke up with Matthew Perry's head writer character, and they have a tension thing throughout it. But she's Harry on The West Wing.
C.J. Craig.
She was C.J. Craig. Mackenzie on The Newsroom.
Ainsley.
He only respects a woman character if she has a neutral to masculine name.
And Felix, another thing you pointed out in the Sorkin verse. Like in addition to that dichotomy, there's also sort of a hierarchy where there's the main character. The main character is the strong woman who's named like Sam or Brett or something.
Yeah.
And they're like,
this is our new producer. She's a perfect 10 out of 10 dime. She has the same beliefs as a 65-year-old Democrat from Connecticut, and her name is Steven.
That's one
awesome character, Aaron.
And then the other women are like these frail, mousy, just homely, like little doormats, just scurrying about, and like it was like basically like the difference between like royalty and like a serf in the medieval era. Like the mousy women, like a fast talking, smart, energetic guy can legally kill them.
Yeah, no, the smart woman who is named like Joseph is just storming down the hallways. All right, I need Monkey W. Bush sketch by yesterday, and by yesterday I mean yesterday in the because it's network TV in the frickin' Greenwich time zone. Do you get me? Okay, good talk. Actually, not a good talk. Okay, talk to you later. We'll see if that one's better. I have a feeling it won't be. And then cut to just a woman who's basically wearing a potato sack. She's shot from like the ceiling down to make her look even smaller, and she's like, I'm gonna put the lights up. Like the lighting fixture could fall on her and kill her, and it wouldn't affect the episode.
So there's an all hands on deck meeting in which the new studio exec Jordan Breen, played by Amanda Peet, faces off against the other studio suit Steven Weber. Steven Weber's in something. He's going to play an asshole, and he's a prick in this. No different. And the Amanda Peet character, her hot idea is like, hey, our big problem is not what Judd Hirsch said on air. It's that what he said is true. And that this show is hack and it hasn't been funny for like 10 years or whatever. And like my big solution to that is hiring the two best writers, the best writing director team in the world, Aaron Sorkin Mark I and Aaron Sorkin Mark II, that essentially represents, himself.
The duality
of Sorkin.
Only they're both smart-act Jewish guys who are drug addicts.
Who are pillheads. And, and
so it's not even the different sides of Sorkin. It's just clones.
Oh, no. Matthew Perry's character is on pills and Bradley Whitford character is on blow.
Yeah, that's how he divided it.
And they're introduced like being given the award for best screenplay at like the WGA, the Writers Guild Awards or something. And, Bradley Whitford gets a phone call and they're like, we're offering you the show. And then there's this weird subplot where like they're, oh my God, I totally forgot about. Okay. The subplot is that like when they're offered this job, Matthew Perry thinks that like they're just moving on to like their next film project, but he doesn't know that Bradley Whitford actually can't be his director on that because he just failed a drug test for cocaine.
Yeah. And
like the studio won't bond him. Like he can't
no
be
insurance.
Like, no insurance or something. I'm sure there maybe are rules like that. I don't know too well, but it does seem to be implying that you can't be a Hollywood director and do cocaine at the same time. Or like, they'll just be in the middle of filming something and then like so the studio guys will come around and they'll be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Bay, can you pee in this cup? And he was like, oh, what the fuck? I didn't see this coming.
Can I
he's like wiping fucking like, pure shit off his fucking face.
Can I tell you guys
off his face?
Can I tell you guys why I think this plot device is in here? And I believe Aaron Sorkin thinks it's a real thing. Because he wanted to direct a movie about Amelia Earhart or something, just some bird brain idea he had, where it's like, all right, we're gonna do a movie about a girl who's a robber baron, and she gets taught by J.P. Morgan, who's played by Bradley Whitford, and even the studio is like, this sounds like shit. We have to tell him that we drug tested her. And he's like, oh, this is a thing that happens to every screenwriter and director.
We find out from people watching expository television that the project that they were going to direct and write together was about Nikola Tesla.
Again, I'm starting to believe that Sorkin is a prophet.
Yes.
But like he's like the things he prophesizes are only stupid.
Yes.
And like our culture can only get dumber.
Yeah. Who does that remind you of? Oh my God. How come it's only like us and him who have the power?
It's really not good.
No,
and
like,
the E1 boys.
But we're like cursed. We're like Cassandra, and like this is horrible. I can't believe what's happening. But like Sorkin thinks he's like charting a way to a new golden future.
If only more people knew about epic Nikola Tesla.
Knew about smart people, high IQ geniuses like Nikola Tesla, and like that world has pretty much come to pass.
Yep.
And it's awful.
It sucks.
It's
so
terrible.
much ass.
We're living in the world that like it is now the
We're
job.
living in the future we always dreamed
where it
of.
is the job of Saturday Night Live to like correct the president and like stand for truth and the American way.
Yeah, no, it's every show is Studio 60. Every television show with comedy on it is a Studio 60. Everyone is his heroic knight errant comedic geniuses taking down the chuds and the hypocrites in the news.
When you turn on TV and you see like just a full 5-minute replay of like the Senate Armed Services Committee talking to some fucking dumbass that Trump put in charge of ISIS or whatever, in charge of fighting ISIS, and then Sam B comes on or Trevor Noah or Seth Meyers, whoever your person is, and they're just like, just the sound of a lawnmower starting up, but just clogged with grass. Just that smug humming. You're living in Aaron Sorkin's mind. He's looked into a snow globe, and now you live in it.
Yep. Just to give people who are avoiding this stuff for their health a little taste, I saw a joke that Trevor Noah did last week about Howard Schultz and his amazing quixotic effort to become president. He said, imagine if Howard Schultz ran against Trump and they debated. It would be the inventor of the pumpkin spice latte, and an actual pumpkin spice latte.
So Trump is like a human pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That got a chuckle out of me. But yeah. So there's Matt and Danny. That is like the Aaron Sorkin characters who play Aaron Sorkin on the show.
Hetch and McCarthy for our times.
Stephen Weber as the prick suit. Amanda Peet as the good suit. And then there's like the three main cast members. We've already referenced Sarah Paulson plays a thinly veiled version of Kristen Chenoweth, who Aaron Sorkin dated, and wouldn't you know it, Matthew Perry's character also used to date her on the show as well. D.L. Hughley plays the other star, and then Nate Cordry plays like the other cast member. But like a big chunk of the early episodes, or like all the episodes that we watched, a big chunk of the plot and characterization on these shows has to deal with the Sarah Paulson's character's Harry, her Christian faith. Just like the real Kristen Chenoweth, who also does like, gospel albums and shit like that. And yeah, like the way it's set up, where like the big foil for the show, and again, it's an amazing artifact of the era it was in.
It's just so dated.
Is the like the Christian right?
It's just like,
and like
really
like this is the big hurdle for them being like smart and funny on TV. Is red state affiliates who are like, you cannot make fun of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on your Jew-written television show.
I mean, to be fair though, that was the big. It's impossible to conceive of now.
It
is. It is.
I remember though. That was
because
it was like we were all being held hostage by these hooting, snake handling maniacs. I remember everyone saw fucking Jesus Camp and just came out traumatized. Like, these people live amongst us.
I mean, it's true. They still do. I mean, it's not like
right,
but they don't have the same influence. They don't have the same influence.
Well, they've changed priorities.
Right,
they're all in for just white nationalist lib triggering.
Right, and there are just different moral majorities for every time. Like the Gen Z one, it's literally just because the white characters don't say the N-word. But it was a weird time, and it is weird to write it about SNL because if you remember, culture in general, it is kind of like MSNBC now in a way, just straight MSNBC programming in that there is this sort of general bullshit liberalism, but it is like, it was like, they have fucking Giuliani on. They sort of both sides, the Iraq War, the actual most history altering decisions, they just sort of dilly-dallied around. And wouldn't you know it, despite them doing that, the fucking hooting chuds still hated them. And now they've moved on to just deciding that they all do ritualistic child sacrifice and it never mattered in the first place, whatever it was. And that's game, and you love to see it. But I do think a lot of our listeners may be too young, or they don't quite remember the Bush era moral majority.
Yeah.
And its effect on this already impossibly shitty TV. This moment we're in, it was only made possible, like so many things, by 9/11. When I was watching this, we were in such an interesting cultural place in like 1999, 2000.
It was like, if 9/11 hadn't happened, the original Fast and Furious movie would have just gone on forever.
Yes.
That would have been like, we would have been living like in the culture that reached its peak in the original Fast and Furious movie with Paul Walker and Vin Diesel would have gone on unabated.
This movie, or this show, made me realize the cultural schizophrenia 9/11 caused, where we have to be sort of hope punk, because we're liberals and we can't say that we want, we think we win by love. We think we win by hope. But also everything's very serious now. Everything's serious. But also going to the mall is fighting the scourge of evil in the world. And it just caused this mental breakdown of the culture where the only funny things were just instances of people totally giving up, of people like, let's see if this bullshit will get made, like Tropic Thunder. They probably didn't think that could get made, and then it just somehow got made. Or like just.
But Tropic Thunder is a good movie,
right?
though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying the only good things.
Yeah.
Or like fucking like Step Brothers, things that had nothing rooted in the cultural moment of the time. Everything tied to that cultural moment is just shit. It's meaningless. It's fucking garbage. And actually, I mean, every like good comedy and everything kind of good, it just sort of tried to follow a through line of pre 9/11. but
Just tried to pretend that 9/11 didn't happen.
which
It
We
did.
should all
Yeah.
just do that, actually.
Yeah.
if you want to write
As
something,
we've said, if we had just pretended collectively it never happened, everything would be way, way better now than it is.
I advise against anyone going into any media, any entertainment. But if you really want to write something, if you think you have something great and you have just that ability that you either have or you don't, that you can write things that are like evocative and fun to people, and you want to make people laugh, you want people to read it like 5-10 years from now and laugh, nothing to do with the cultural moment. Nothing. Fucking nothing. Because it's faster moving and shittier than ever. And it
God,
always
what are you
has
going
been
to do about
since
Trump?
9/11.
What are you going to talk about?
not gonna
How are you
do
going to talk about
shit, man.
Trump in a way that's indelible or memorable, including our stuff?
Our
You
stuff,
can't do it.
I think our stuff we do about Trump is funny. I think people that listen to us and enjoy us think it's funny. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you're not going to go back 10 years from now.
No.
I don't give a shit because it's not the same as like a movie or something.
Yeah.
I think I don't
more
think
ephemeral.
that many people go back and listen to like podcasts 10 years later.
Yeah.
But I am saying this show has given me a renewed appreciation for truly how much damage 9/11 did. Truly.
I would say Aaron Sorkin's done more damage to America than 9/11.
Well,
But he was
that's a
ugly.
chicken and egg. Would
Yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
Sorkin
yeah.
be able to do so much damage?
Well,
if
the
it
West
wasn't
Wing
for
was
9/11?
before 9/11.
But it really hit its stride after 9/11.
Because of the
Remember,
Bush, yeah. It was-
remember the fucking Isaac and Ishmael episode that they did after 9/11? Because 9/11 didn't happen in their universe because it's a different time
Bartlett-
frame. And
It was like Mark Wahlberg
Yeah,
was
because
on the flight.
okay, so the plane is about to hit WTC2, and Bartlett just takes like a window cleaning lift up and goes, "Eat Dominis u Partris Allahu Akbar, you son of a bitch."
No, you
It's-
would-
what is it?
you would-
Where's the line in the Quran
Yeah,
that says
exactly.
it's okay
Yeah,
to
yeah.
crash a
Exactly.
plane into a bunch
Exactly.
of innocent people,
He's
sir? And he's
I-
like, my God, you're correct.
He's Muhammad Atta is like, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, he's like, "I've made zakat more times than you have this year, you son of a bitch."
But there was
He
an
just
episode.
turns it around.
So, but he wanted to acknowledge it, even though it couldn't happen in the universe. So there's an episode where there's an unspecified terrorist threat. Well, a bunch of students are touring the White House, and there's a lockdown, and they're stuck in the room with Sam and Toby and Josh, I think. And so the kids are like, "What's going on? I don't understand. Why do they hate us?" And so they go on an hour-long episode where they just break down the Israel-Palestine conflict and the eternal battle between the Jews and the Muslims, named after, of course, Isaac and Ishmael, because Isaac was the good son who turned into the founder of the Jews, and Ishmael, that was the Hagar, the handmaiden's child, who was sent aside, and he became the Arabs. And it's just all this incredible potted history garbage. But then after that episode, there's way more like international shit, and like there's this evil government called the Kumar. There's the evil country called Kumar that's doing terrorism, and they've got to assassinate their prime minister or something.
What?
And that's a whole thing. Yeah, in later
Fuck
seasons.
me.
Yeah. So as soon as 9/11 happens, it gets diffused, and then of course there's the amazing run where he runs for re-election against James Brolin doing George W. Bush, and their famous debate episode where they say, "You just show everyone how much smarter you are than him, and how much more competent you are." And then he does it, and then he blows them out.
Oh, what about the episode where the terrorists kidnap the president's daughter?
Yeah.
And he steps down so John Goodman can be president.
Goodman, yes, the Speaker of the House. John Goodman's like a Newt Gingrich maniac, and he becomes president.
Well, we'll
for
get
like
to
a
it.
day.
I guess Sorkin likes John Goodman playing right wingers.
I mean,
We'll get to that.
who doesn't love
Yeah.
John Goodman?
Well, that's because when he closes his eyes and sees a flyover person, it is all 350 pounds of pre-skinny John Goodman. Like, that is who he thinks every American looks like.
Let's be honest though, John Goodman rocks. Good taste by the pimp Sorkin. For real.
I just want to bring up a couple other things. The first episode ends with like they've agreed to do the job, and they're about to have like an all cast meeting, and right before they go out, Matthew Perry says to Bradley Whitford, he's like originally kind of reticent about taking the job, and he goes, "It's a good studio. It's got a good feel. A lot of history here." And I was like, yeah, no shit. You hear what happened to the poltergeist girl here? Yeah, but no, that same idea that the ground that we trod upon is hallowed.
Yeah.
because John Belushi played the Japanese deli guy there in the 70s. Do you know how much fucking cocaine and heroin was sniffed off this table by fucking
Do you know how
Chris
many
Farley?
script girls got their asses grabbed?
This is the place where a bunch of people's nephews wrote the sketch "Gay Jogger." I mean, we make fun of and also greatly admire Mad TV, but Mad TV is indistinguishable from the so-called the golden years of Saturday Night Live. It's the same premise, just straight up flatly offensive character. It's just in your face, and it's not like trying to be poignant and tugging at your heartstrings.
And smart, goddamn smart.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's a little bit of a fascist in every American, and what is fascism but wishing for a perfect past that never really existed? And I can't think of a greater example of that in entertainment, a type of entertainment fascism, than wishing for classic smart SNL, which was it was just Mad TV.
Now, in episode 2 opens with like a big press conference where, again, like they're announcing North and South Korea have been,
because
reunified.
in this universe, the network they're on, and remember, this is a network that coexists with all the networks in our reality, coexists with Saturday Night Live. They even mention Lorne Michaels on the show, so that it still exists. On this network, their flagship show is their late night sketch comedy show that airs once a week at 11 o'clock at night. No network would have that as their number one show because that's not when people watch TV. It's called prime time for a reason.
If Saturday Night Live was NBC's flagship show, like, those conspiracy threads would be true and Bill Cosby would have been able to buy it.
But before that, there's a funny moment where some great intro female dialogue written by Aaron Sorkin that was so fucking good.
Whenever an episode of a show written by Aaron Sorkin passes the Bechdel test, that is a sign that something horrible is going to happen.
It's Sarah Paulson and the other female cast member who conveniently has also slept with Matthew Perry. Like they're having a moment, like in dress or whatever, in their dress rehearsals where just someone says to Sarah, like Sarah Paulson
says to the girl who's more like buxom, and she says to her, "I wish I had your body," and the woman says to Sarah Paulson, "I wish I had your talent."
That's women do be talking like that too. Like,
women do be talking like that.
Yeah. All right, I have to go into the bathroom to have my period. All right, don't forget to leave a tampon for me. Oh, I would leave you a tampon if you would leave me a cup size that I could have on my brassiere. All right, time to go clean out my vagina before sex.
But so at the press conference, the national press is assembled to basically just announce that there's going to be a new executive producer on Saturday Night Live. Imagine if that was a national news event. And so they're going through they're taking questions, and then out of nowhere, a woman stands up and she's like, hello, Krista McChrist from Rapture Magazine here.
Rapture Magazine.
Rapture Magazine, and she goes, will you be airing the controversial and incredibly clever Crazy Christian sketch? And then instead of dodging it, they're just like, yes, we are. I dare you to picket us over this. And lo and behold, they do. The Crazy Christian sketch, it's too much
epic.
But as I was saying earlier, Sorkin, God bless him, he's aware enough that having built this sketch up and making it the plot backbone and being the example of something that's too smart and edgy and subversive for the mainstream audience, he never shows it. That's never put on screen because he knows that nothing he could write. God bless him for at least having enough awareness to realize nothing he could write could live up to something called Crazy Christians that would be that amazing.
Okay, then there's another great scene where Matthew Perry addresses the writer's room for the first time, and he's got to sort of ride herd on them. They're all these slobs, and they're hacks, and Bradley Whitford, the director, introduces Perry to the writer's room, to give the troops the speech, and he just goes, "All right, I'll only say one thing. This isn't TV camp. So, if you bring good ideas, they'll get on the show. If you don't, they won't. Not everyone gets to participate. Don't cry about it. Just be better. And if you're a woman, shut the fuck up." Shout out Elena Smith. No, yeah, and then Perry sits down. They're like, "Oh, what if we have a sketch where Bush opens the Department of Lies?" And then like Perry's like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up!" And then like he looks at them, and then what's his name? John Ennis plays one of them for inexplicably wearing a Rasta.
He's looking like a Rasta dude.
And again, it's sort of the MST3K rule. Stop reminding me of what was actually the greatest, smartest, most subversive sketch
Mr.
comedy show of all time.
Yes.
In this
Mr. Show, a show that had no reference to the time it took place in.
Oh yeah, almost none.
That's
but like,
why it's timeless.
All it did was predict the future. It didn't talk about the present.
And then Perry is just like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." And then he just goes, instead of talking about comedy, he's just like, "What are you wearing? Look at you slobs." He's like, "Our show is the arbiter of what's cool and hip. Since when did it become cool and hip for grown men to dress like little boys? We're professionals. You come to this writer's room, you wear a goddamn suit."
I'm
just
so
like, what fucking universe does this guy like?
I'm so sick of these comedy writers coming in sagging their pants, spending all their weekly paychecks on rims.
Comedy swag is for boys. Comedy class is for men.
And it's just like, yeah, it feels you're like, yeah. Guess what? The musical guest this week is Frank Sinatra Jr. So show some goddamn respect.
It was such a weird digression. It's like Aaron Sorkin does have the insecurity of someone who, like, for 80% of his life was just an insane drug addict. And he's like, well, at least I wear a tie.
Well, that was the William S. Burroughs thing. It's like he shot up every day of his life, but every morning he shaved and put on a crisp suit. So I guess and
You got to have some sort of
stitches a bag of
self-discipline.
skag into his a blazer jacket in case he gets arrested.
You need some area of discipline in your life.
Okay, then there's an amazing scene where Sarah Paulson is going off on Matthew Perry because she finds out inadvertently that like he's having sex with another woman, even though they're broken up. And then she like literally again, Aaron Sorkin writing a character about himself. Harry like lists off a ream of actual women and celebrities that his character is supposedly fucked, which include Maina Suvari. Haven't heard that name since literally American Beauty came out. Marlo Thomas,
65 at the time of this writing.
almost
And married to Phil Donahue, which they say on the show.
Marlo Thomas and Rachel McAdams,
Yeah.
Who is
star
like
of
20.
The Notebook. Yeah, and it's just like, he's just like, Matthew Perry's character, wink, wink. He lays pipe to all the hottest women in Hollywood.
That's literally our show.
Yeah.
And when you're not playing Fortnite and killing Tifu, you're fucking Kate Upton. That's right, but I still show up and do great podcasts. So that's right. You're an asshole, but you're the greatest podcaster who's ever lived. You came up with the idea of Trump meeting Dave Thomas. And it got you to fuck Emily Ratajkowski. Yeah, that's right, bitch.
So like the whole second episode is about like it's going to be their first episode as a new producer,
And they need to have
come out with something. They got to come out with fire.
The cold
this
open
is their this is
has
their
to be
chance.
amazing. It's reintroducing the show to the audience, acknowledging what happened, promising a new generation.
And
it
again-
has to be smart and funny and brilliant.
Edgy, brilliant, cutting edge stuff. And like I need to stress that like they had said on the show multiple times that like this Friday night show is the arbiter of what is cool and hip in our culture.
It's what everyone talks about around the water fountain on Monday
on Saturday morning.
when they go into work on Saturday morning.
No, but like this is cool. This is hip. Like you guys have been brought on, Matt and Danny. You guys are the dangerous, edgy, cutting edge comedy writers.
Yeah.
So what do they come up with? This is one of the sketches we do see. What do they come up with?
And it's the climax of the second episode.
Climax of the second episode. What do they come up with? I swear to Christ.
Oh boy.
It is a parody of a Gilbert and Sullivan musical number.
Yep.
You have to be 80 years old to think that is cool. Like, they do a parody of fucking HMS Pinafore where the whole cast comes out and sings like, we are the very model of a network TV show when we step in this august and blessed studio.
Yeah. And they're all wearing tuxedos and evening gowns, and there's a fucking Philharmonic and the opera singers behind them. It probably cost $500,000.
And like the edgy part is that they reference that Bradley Whitford's character did cocaine.
Yeah.
They're like, and our producer's doing blow, doing blow.
And the audience is dying.
It's
just
like,
we had the captions on it. It says applause, whooping.
I will say this, for that scene and for all the sketches we actually see, Aaron Sorkin would be like the John Schwartzwelder of the nation of Germany. If he just wrote comedy sketches like that there, they'd be like, this is the funniest shit that we've ever seen.
You got to go to a non-humor comedy.
Yeah, go to like Sweden, Germany, Denmark, and do that shit.
Yeah.
You're a god, dude.
Like,
one of those nations where everyone is 90 years old, no matter what time they were born.
where everyone's 90 years old, and it's nighttime for half of the year.
Yeah,
But
And
no,
it's just dude, we need to make sure we sneak this by standards and practices. We're gonna have a plump boy put sausages in his ears. It's like this Gilbert and Sullivan shit with like that would be what would be like funny to a dinner theater office, like a dinner theater audience in Branson, Missouri.
Well, no, those guys are too unlettered for it. It'd be more like somebody in the Catskills in 1955.
yeah. It's
Shecky Green.
Yeah.
right. This is the comedy you would show your like Jewish uncle who's recovering from an ulcer.
There's when he has the brainstorm to do the Gilbert and Sullivan thing. While he's realizing it, he says to the room full of people who are all trying to think of what to do. He goes, "Who is the first? Who invented frat comedy? W.S. Gilbert."
What? That just
William Shakespeare was the first rapper. I'll tell you that.
oh, dude, that's so awesome.
Gilbert and Sullivan also invented racist comedy with their the Mikado.
The
Mikado, yeah.
Japanese people.
Dude, I'm so sick of these fucking SJW cucks trying to cancel Gilbert and Sullivan. Yo, if you're a MAGA patriot, we're gonna put on our own production of Pinafore. You're not gonna. We're listening to "Baby It's Cold Outside," Gilbert and Sullivan, all that shit. Fuck you.
We're gonna
cucks.
watch the jazz singer.
Yeah, enjoying all this shitty old crap to trigger people. I love musical theater, you fucking pussy.
They're just miserable watching Showboat.
They're going up to like the Broadway cast of a Gilbert and Sullivan's a MAGA psycho. I bet the liberals hate that you do that. They're like, what? It's all like gay New Yorkers. Don't ever let them take this from you.
So that's the first two episodes. It ends with them doing this Gilbert and Sullivan cold open to rapturous applause. Huge success.
Oh, I want one more thing about episode 2. There's another through line that's carried throughout all of Sorkin's work, and that is, and he was doing this 15 years ago, which is insane, or like a decade ago or something. No, yeah, like a long fucking time ago from now. Going at the trolls, going at the bloggers
Oh, yes.
who are writing in their pajamas, which is literally a line
Yep.
on the show. And then the Nate Cordry character basically says, like, what's wrong with credentials? I like credentials. I like when the media was credentialed and not just some, jerk in their mom's basement or
And
whatever.
this was when the trolls were just bloggers. I don't think Sorkin's on Twitter, but I imagine him logging on. He would melt.
He would have a
5 minutes.
stroke.
He would have a stroke. He would die.
The most like lame dick rose emoji, like, hey, my dude, you've been corn cobbed. He would just,
You son of a bitch!
he would just turn on the hardest Gilbert and Sullivan and just start nailing drywall, just going beast mode.
The name was like, it's called, someone called Bernadette's blog was like, 30 or 60 on the Sunset Strip is a bore and old. And then like, they're just like, I should only read this in the pages of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
How dare you?
By the way, I like that the guy on second rate SNL is like, I prefer experts. But
The guy whose big claim to fame is that he has a great Bill Frist impression.
yeah, the Sorkin classic is like, it's like the nerd character is like, oh no, Ronald's web rings that gave us a 5 out of fail. And then the older character is like, who cares? And then goes, Sorkin, because he doesn't know any media figure. Like, he's only worked in media, but no one's less acquainted with the business of media. His idea of what blog traffic was in like 2008, he's like, oh yeah, well it has 200 million unique readers a day.
Oh my
It's
God.
like, well, yeah, Rapture
The Rapture
magazine has
magazine.
like 10 million readers.
No, like there's a scene with like Rapture magazine where like Amanda Pete's character is like, since when do we let Rapture magazine into our press briefings or whatever?
It has
like,
a circulation 4 times the size of Vanity Fair.
I just love the idea that like there was an evangelical Christian magazine that is just out. Yeah,
It's on every
Yeah, it's on
newsstand
every
when,
news-
when you're waiting to fucking buy your food at Kroger.
Mrs. Breen, this is I'm from the email forward chain newsletter daily.
I'm from the wretchedtrollhive.net.
Yeah, I'm from that word actually just means ignorant person quarterly. You know what? This show exists in Donald Trump's mind palace of like the importance of media. But like Donald Trump literally knows the business of media so much better than Aaron Sorkin. Like if he wrote this show, there would be weird stuff. Like the Graydon Carter character would be like, "Ooh, I'm such a sissy. Time to make another bad restaurant." But like he would know what like a network executive does. He would, because that's the only thing he knows. Despite ostensibly only being a real estate businessman, he knows this stuff. Aaron Sorkin should have hired Donald Trump as a consultant to this show. It literally would have made
Actually,
it better.
there is Donald Trump is name checked during Judd Hirsch's rant.
It's another prophecy
where he says, we're being coarsened by our media and it's making us all want to be Donald Trump.
Maybe he's right. I don't know. Maybe Sorkin
could be right.
Well, I mean,
we're not giving him enough credit.
Well, what the problem with him always is that he never knows where any of this is coming from. He always just thinks there's too many dumb women in their period involved in writing TV, and that's why it's bad now.
TV
it's
sucks
like
now
why
because-
it's bad. It's just people just kind of got lazy or something like that.
Well,
people got lazy because they expected to hear from women in a meeting.
Yeah.
Basically.
This is Sorkin. You know, we love Lovecraft, and Sorkin is like the Lovecraft protagonist. He's getting these visions, but because of his like dumb brain and lack of other knowledge, he doesn't know how to process them. So they're like, everyone's going to become like Donald Trump. And he's like, oh, how do I process it? Oh, yeah, they don't let us do show tunes about fundamentalist Christians anymore. It's like, okay, man.
No, but Tim is like, it's like everyone's being made dumber and lazier by women contributing in the workplace, and bloggers who are making everyone dumb. But it's just because we've lost touch, Christians, and we've lost touch with like the smart network TV executives who want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And like the credentialed media critics who we should be paying attention to when they're like, Studio 60 is one of the best shows.
It's genius.
It's a genius television show. So that was the first two episodes. Then we watched one more, which is from like the mid-season. It's we watched the first half of a 2-part episode that involves a cameo by John Goodman.
Once
playing
again,
a local Nevada judge who's like a red state yahoo who carries a gun
and is incredibly pissed at Hollywood.
Big fan of liberal Jews and the way they
look down
on Christians.
Simple, faithful people.
However, like it's sort of like it opens and they're in like this tiny sheriff's department in the middle of the fucking desert, and like the lead stars of the show like is in handcuffs or whatever. And he's like, oh, geez, am I going to make the curtain call or whatever? And then, like, you go back, and honestly, I tuned out most of this episode because I had enough of watching this shit. However, this episode does have probably the most amazing scene, I'm going to say, on the run of the show.
You watch it, and then you just think, has Aaron Sorkin ever met a human being?
Like, okay, the setup is the Sarah Paulson character, Harry. Much has been made about her Christian faith. And, sort of like the Ainsley character on The West Wing, Sorkin always wants to show that he's like, I'm not just, I hate Christians, but guess what? There are some good ones too.
Yeah.
And he wants to show
I'm
that,
not
like,
intolerant
you don't
like
have
those dumb Christians.
there are some good ones as well. And the Sarah Paulson character, so like in some media interview is asked, like, what do you think about gay marriage? And she says, well, the Bible says it's a sin, but the Bible also says, judge not, lest ye be judged, which is like, some stock answer. And then they only run the first half of the clip. And they're like, Harry, how could you say that? Like, and they're, and she's like, they have a back and forth about it. And she's like, obviously not a homophobic person or whatever. She just, she likes her Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
This is what the Bible says. So they set that up. And then like, her and the Nate Cordry character, who's like he's very twinkish. He's like sort of the Chris Kattan of Studio 60.
Yeah, he's Kattan-esque for sure.
They're walking down the street they're of Sunset Boulevard or whatever, and they get approached by what appear to be fans, and they're like, "Oh, Harriet, could you sign this CD of your show tunes or whatever?" And she's like, "Oh, thank you, you've made my day." She signs it. They hand it back to the guy. And the guy literally like drops it on the sidewalk in front of him and stomps on it with his foot. And he's like, "That's what I think of you, you homophobic bitch. And then he's just like, call me a fag. Call me a fag, you bitch.
It's
like,
four big gay guys.
She's
in
like,
jean
No,
jackets.
yeah, she's accosted by a Tom of Finland drawing.
They're wearing jean jackets.
yeah, and like leather caps.
And they're like, you fucking piece of shit Christian bitch.
You fucking Christian whore.
It's literally like that's like a Red State blog entry from 2007 that like was later debunked.
Yeah,
That's
like
happening.
reaching for my my 9mm hollow point clip to deter these gay style thugs.
We
car.
That is we have
several insurgent style homosexuals.
That is a story that somebody wrote into Rob Dreyer's blog about.
Yeah. Like, see, they are literally, and then as they said, like, they're explaining, they're like, some gay bullies attacked Harriet.
Over the course of the episode, they call them gay bullies, gay toughs, I think.
Gay hooligans.
Gay hooligans.
Yeah, like fucking soccer fans. And then, like, the Nate Cordry character sort of intervenes and is like, come on, back off, guy. And sort of like pushes him away. And of course, like, he falls down a flight of stairs or whatever. And he's like, ow, my arm. All incredibly convoluted. Then he ends up in jail in Nevada because he had like an outstanding speeding ticket there.
And they extradite him.
They extradite him to this small town in Nevada. And then then there's this whole other fucking subplot where like the whole fucking network and like their lawyers have to fly there because I swear to God, they're trying to do a $20 billion deal in Macau and they have to cater to this Chinese guy, this Chinese billionaire and his teenage daughter who's only interested in getting piped down by Chris Kattan.
Yeah. She loves that little fop. She
Yeah.
loves him and she wants to meet him. And so since he's in Nevada, they got to take them to Nevada for her to meet him.
And of course, once again, Sorkin only writes about himself, is referencing the time he got arrested for flying to Vegas with mushrooms and cocaine.
Yep.
So we run into John Goodman playing a right winger again. And I'm going to admit I was shitting for like 20% of this episode. But does it? Yeah, he does like a whole. He starts out. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna order them to shoot you if you keep talking. You have no rights." And then he's like, "Oh," and he says something racist. But then he's like, "Oh, do you really think I'd do that just because I'm a red stater?
Yeah.
That's why I hate you liberals." And
You
it's like,
believe
wow.
that I'm the person I just acted like for 5 minutes.
Even
No,
though
he says
there are
about-
like documented cases of pretty much every fucking redneck piece of shit sheriff and judge being exactly like this. But it seems like our boys are in hock and they're not going to be able to do like, you know, a fucking Bernard Shaw play, but about the deficit or whatever genius shit is going to go on Studio 60. But then what's the thing about, this is another Sorkin thing where there's like a liberal and a right winger are like, you're ignorant, you're smug. Well, we can both agree we love soldiers.
Yep. And that's exactly where this goes. I had to sort of like skip ahead to we didn't watch the part 2. But wouldn't you know it, everything resolves itself when it turns out that the Nate Cordry slash Chris Kattan character, the one who had the speeding ticket in Nevada, got the speeding ticket because he was driving to see his brother before he deployed again to Afghanistan to build schools and hospitals.
Of course. I'd teach
And
the
then
women
like
to
John
read.
Goodman is like, yeah, like respect. Like,
Yep.
yeah, like I'm voiding the charges because I feel like it.
Yeah.
Because your brother's a troop.
Yep.
And like they all come together over their love of the troops.
That is a thread throughout all of Sorkin, is this idea of all of our cultural conflicts are really petty and we could really transcend them if we just got together around our imperial warmongering. He really does. He really, and you could, he's one of those guys who harkens back to the good old days. And what he really means is like, oh, remember like during World War
Truman
II
presidency?
and Truman when we were all united.
Remember when he dropped an atom bomb
Yeah,
on Japan?
exactly.
I mean, really, it's like the Korean War.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Sorkin, like all these pointless, bloody, awful, wretched wars that, like, at the time of him writing, were kind of like they were at the forefront of the American consciousness, and it just went down after that, right?
Yeah.
But to Sorkin, it's like, hey, they're serving their country.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask why
I
they're
mean,
there.
do you remember his absolutely wretched movie, Charlie Wilson's War?
Oh,
That
God.
movie,
One of the worst pieces of
Dude,
shit I've
I
ever seen.
can't think about that. I literally, you are going to, I can't think about it.
That
I
movie
can't
is
Well, I mean, we see that.
violently
We
terrible.
see like that on display there.
Yeah.
Where like it glorifies this asshole Texas fucking shit.
But he was a
kicker.
Democrat.
But he's yeah.
He's a
he was
lib.
Yeah, he was an epic NatSec Democrat.
He was
Ugh.
an epic lib. He was a New Dealer who just also wanted to fight communism and, was serious about it.
and like the whole point is they do this, you know, they literally supply Stinger missiles to, you know, what would become
The Taliban.
The Taliban.
And yeah.
And at the end, it's like all made okay because Philip Seymour Hoffman's character just tells him like, don't forget about him now. Got to build schools. Got to build roads. And they're like, oops, we guess we forgot to do that. That was what we fucked up on. And not,
not the doing it in the first place, not helping trigger the invasion of Afghanistan, because people forget this. We were arming motherfucking Mujahideen before the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan.
Yeah, just telling the fucking insanely drunk Me Too congressman, like, hey, don't forget to build a society over there. Okay, gotcha, man.
Yeah,
that's the CIA's due diligence. Yeah. Hey, drunk, unreliable dipshit. Be sure to like create an entire like secular or semi-secular civil society. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that right after I finish having this meeting with a guy whose job it is to throw acid in the uncovered faces of women.
Yeah, and then I have to settle 38 sexual harassment lawsuits in my own office.
No, Sorkin is a guy who would be like, he's like, I can't help but be the only one who thinks, like, can I be the only one who thinks that if the troops got together, they could do a late night comedy show that would be the best thing ever?
It's true. No, Sorkin him and Bill Maher have basically the same brain. Like, their worldview is almost identical in terms of they
hate women.
They hate women. Yeah. They really hate religion.
Yeah.
But
they really, really hate the duskier hued religions,
right? And they don't like the vast middle of America, not necessarily because they think that racism and stuff like that is bad because it makes you a hillbilly.
Yeah,
it makes you ignorant. It doesn't really have anything with values or anything like that.
I think their thing with religion is like Aaron Sorkin. He has more like personal animosity towards like, the Christ cards, the fail Christians, but he's like enough of a like fence sitter that he's like, I like people who live by what Jesus really said. I have some great Christian friends, but he just loves owning people by their own logic, and he just hates it when the fail Christians pick at something really epic. But Bill Maher has more personal hatred towards like Muslims.
And they both have a deep belief that the country works best when the grown-ups are in charge.
Well, that is exactly what Aaron Sorkin just said when he was interviewed by Fareed Zakaria about AOC and like this new crop of Democrats. We said, I think it's time for them to grow up. And the Democrats, we referenced this before. He said, like, we have the opportunity not to be like the dumb party. Prior to that sound clip, he had just got done saying, I really like Joe Biden the best out of the Democratic field, which is, again, for a guy who loves credentials, I guess Joe Biden is your fucking
he's
candidate.
Been there forever.
I mean, he has the most credentials. It just actually, we should do an episode just on Joe Biden.
We should.
Because, like, his track record is maybe one of the worst in American political history.
No, he is the Forrest Gump of the neoliberal turn. He was there with his fucking dirty chocolate-stained fingers on every piece of major policy turn in the last 40 years, from the war on drugs to deregulation to the tax code to even gender shit,
terror,
like fucking war on terror, Anita Hill. I mean, it's stunning how he was on the wrong side of every major policy argument and helped drag the Democrats into being the absolute shell of a party that they are now.
No, but it's just in Sorkin mindset, like Joe Biden is the consummate like adult smart guy,
exactly,
in the room.
Even though he's most well known for saying idiot moron things all the time, eating shit every time he's ever tried to run for president, which was like 4 times. One time he got nailed. His first run in 1988, he got nailed for just plagiarizing the Labour Party in Britain's leader's stump speech.
That's like no one would notice. What a baller. God.
So he's just an absolute dullard, but he was there a lot, and he's fucking done he's fucking punched the clock, and he's been there.
He's done his homework.
He's done his goddamn homework.
And but functionally has just only served to move this country, to the right, in more than one horrendous way.
And you want to talk about like being the smart party, has created the Democratic consensus positions that Hillary Clinton ran defending in 2016 and ate shit on because they suck and nobody likes them anymore. And if he ran, he would just be running on Hillary Clinton's vision of the party again.
But when he made those comments about like, I think they need to grow up, get off Twitter or whatever. It's funny. He immediately backtracked on that and said like, oh, I actually do really like Ms. Cortez or whatever. But like, the funny thing is like, people pointing this out, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is like a character he would write that he's like a smart, plucky woman who what she really needs to is to just be like kind of lectured and reined in by like an older, smarter guy.
Yeah. Log off of that Twitter, young lady.
Yeah, exactly. Log off that Twitter and get in the room with the people that you're gonna have to be a darn legislator
Quit
with.
standing in the hallways and talking to these yahoos and get inside that room and talk to the people who matter.
Why don't you just have lunch with Mitch McConnell and you might understand something, young lady.
Yeah.
You know what's a great dumb guy trope is like, oh, I'm gonna fuck some sense into her. But that's like
Liberal
literally
WMD.
Yeah, that's literally Sorkin.
And he would call her Alex.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, my
my
God.
God, yeah.
Jesus. Another.
He
Oh my
made
God.
it happen.
Yeah.
He created it.
The
He's
lathe
the
of heaven. Yeah, lathe of heaven.
Should we say like our perfect idea for our Studio 60 review?
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so it's a flagging. It's just Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's been dog shit for probably 15 years. Like, yeah.
The only people that watch it are 5 million podcasters, ironically watching it to make themselves miserable.
Just to feel something.
Yeah.
It is like putting a cigarettes out of my arm when I watch
they're
it.
too proud to like play games or anything. But you know, it's going down. It sucks. No one likes it. But then they find a genius. Not a genius in the conventional sense. Not even a screenwriter. It's not Matthew Perry. It's not Bradley Whitford. It's a guy who runs the Facebook page. Funny ass shit I know I'm going to hell for show. And the first sketch he proposes, all right, so this guy, he's blind, but he's married to the woman with the world's biggest tits. And it just all, Saturday Night Live turns into that. It just all skits like that. It just all skits about how you should beat your kids. Just like PowerPoints of memes about running over protesters,
or just debates about like fictional scenarios, like, would you rather have $1 million a month or never get a blowjob again for the rest of your life?
Or just somebody holding up a Nintendo and be like, yo, you remember this shit?
And the guests are like, it's Tom Hardy, but he's dressed up as Venom, and he can't be out of character Venom the entire time because the guy who runs the page really thinks he is Venom.
And Josh Brolin as Thanos.
Yeah, and it's like it brings America together, like, you know. A right wing senator and like the Alex Cortez go on because they've just both this shows. Everyone in America can now relate to this show because it is funny ass shit. I know I'm going to hell for show. And that's our show. We're pitching it right now.
You know what?
It would be better.
It would be better than everything they have because, as we were saying, the final rebuke to this show has now happened. It took over a decade, but we now live in the world that he envisions where all of the best comedy minds are dedicated to being smart challengers of the status quo who speak truth to power, and it fucking sucks.
The only way you can
It's
really
all terrible and stupid.
It's
it's
the
all
most ineffective
utterly
shit.
toothless
And,
as well.
toothless and ineffective. All these guns were trained on Trump for 2 years to bring him down, and it did not stop him from winning. The utter impotence of his worldview is shown in everything that has happened since.
That's the series finale of funny ass shit. I know I'm going to hell for show. Is it takes down Donald Trump,
Which is what makes him such a tragic figure, because we are realizing that he did have a dim view of what was hoving in to the reality, but he couldn't contain it in it. He couldn't conceive of it, and so he's just doomed to provoke the most absurdly impotent response to it. This vision of like ambitious, earnest, smart people in a room together fixing all the problems, and it absolutely failing every fucking time. Just eating shit.
you hate to see it.
Eating plate after plate of shit.
I mean, I think that pretty much puts a bow on the Sorkin trilogy.
Yep.
I mean, like, fascinating, like a man who, I think we've proven, like, really has created the world we live in, but it's like a monkey's paws type scenario where he got what he wanted, but in a grim, ironic way that's doomed us all.
He is the man who says outside the bar, "You're so lucky I'm on parole and my wife is here." He comes back, he's not on parole anymore, his wife isn't there, and he loses the fight soundly.
And I think it boils down to his just lack of any material understanding of the universe. He does not get material determining causes of things happen. He doesn't think that way.
Because he's a liberal.
Yeah.
He just thinks it's about smart people and dumb people.
Yep.
Like that. That's it. Like,
That's it. There's no interests. There's no conflict. There's just smart people and dumb people. That's the real conflict. That's the real battle. And if you put the smart people in charge, they would fix all the bad things about comedy, about news, and about
the world
sports,
we live in,
and about politics.
Literally, yeah.
And it's like everybody who was in that fucking Obama White House is exhibit A through F that is 100% incorrect. And everybody writing, all those Harvard assholes writing for Saturday Night Live are exhibit B through Z.